Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Java Champions Conference, right? The conference that congregates a lot of Java champions, and that's the 6th year that we're doing this. Let me thanks, Ken and the whole team that's behind making this whole thing happen. It's amazing to be here with you. I see lots of people here. Vincent's asking, it's started. Yes, Vincent, it's started, right? Right now, we're going on right now, right? And so, without further ado, look, this person I'm going to talk to you guys right now is amazing. I'm a fan of her for a long, long time. She's a Java champion. She's a Microsoft MVP. She has this cool. I was in her house the other day. She has this cool YouTube, whatever how you call it, like the plaque with, billions of subscribers, not billions, but lots of subscribers, right? She has, from the people that I know, she has the largest amount of courses and books in the Java community. So with you, Loiane Groiner.
Hi,
and
everybody.
Thanks for Loiane.
Only you, Bruno. Only you.
Hello, Loiane. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. You?
Doing awesome. So looks like you're going to talk about lots of things here today, and I'm gonna spoil a little bit. There's Python in your first slide. How is that going?
Oh, okay. I need to back that up. That's actually my second slide. Spoiler alert.
The second slide. Okay, all right. So I'm spoiling it already, right? So, okay, guys. So if you want to see Python on the second slide, you're in the right place, right? So, and here, good afternoon from São Paulo, Brazil, right? So Brazil has been mentioned here, says Indians. And from Barranquilla, Colombia, awesome. And I see Luis here, and Francois is clapping, and Vincent is sharing, is celebrating, right? New Jersey. Okay, everyone's awesome things here. So Loiane, the stage is yours. Hello from Switzerland, says Francois. Francois is complaining about me, says no spoilers, right? Okay. Hello from Burkina. Loiane, you have people from all over the world. The stage is yours, right?
Yeah,
So I'm going
nice.
to add your presentation here. And
Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for being here. Welcome, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about how we can build the next generation of web applications using Angular, Java, and the AI revolution. Angular you can replace with any of your favorite front-end framework, or even if you want to use like a real full stack, but the concepts will be the same. Even though this is a Java-focused presentation as well, we're going to mention a few other languages, as Bruno said, and we can also apply the same for other languages. So the importance here is the concepts of it all, and we can just apply accordingly to depending on the project or depending on the business case or the product that we are actually building. So let's start with a myth. And I've seen this over and over again. So AI is all about Python, right? Because that's what usually people assume, because the Python ecosystem grew a lot because of data science. However, there is a very good news for us that are Java developers. We already have everything that we need to ship AI features, especially if you are in the Spring ecosystem as well. I'm a huge fan of Spring as well, been working with it for at least the past 18 years of my career. So there's a lot of things that are available for us, and LangChain as well. So this is going to be a little bit more focused on Spring, but if you're using LangChain, all the concepts apply. So let's start with a real pain. So whenever we are trying to get started with AI, you have a brand new Java project, right? So you create your project, you are excited about AI, but getting started can feel a little bit overwhelming, right? We have the models. Which model do we choose? There is also the SDKs for each of the models. There's prompt engineering, vector stores, tools, agentic AI that now seems to be like a magic word. Everybody wants to do agentic AI, MCP. So it can be a lot. So my goal here today is to try to simplify this and show you a clear path, and also demonstrate that AI is much more simpler than we imagine. When we talk about agentic AI, or when you are using tools like Copilot, Cursor, Windsurf, or Gemini, whatever is your preferred tooling to use generative AI when coding. And sometimes we have those moments like, how is it doing that? Like, looks like magic. But I want to show you that you can be building something like that as well. And it's not rocket science. It's just pure soft engineering with a lot of coding, or depending if you're using Spring, not that much coding, because Spring is going to be doing a lot of the things for us as well. So we get started. We go back to the whatever model you're using. You add your dependency, you start writing your API, and then 2 weeks later, can we change the model? Because maybe for cost reasons, performance, compliance, region, or even it's just a matter of vendor preference as well. So vendor lock-in is real. And in this case, whenever we are building enterprise-grade applications, abstractions matter if we want to build production-ready systems. But of course, we are Java developers. We have a wonderful ecosystem available for us, which is Spring, and it's a great place. So if you're not familiar with Spring AI yet, or even Spring is a framework that provides a lot of abstractions, implementations. It has a clean architecture approach as well, and I will show you a little bit more in details what I mean by that. And it has all the building blocks that we need to build AI solutions in Java. Even the observability concepts that are very important, it just becomes much easier to add AI capabilities within our projects without rewriting the entire application in case we decide to change the model 2 weeks later or even a year later. So hi, my name is Loyani. I am a director of engineering during the day, and nights and weekends. I like to say that I have my second job, which is my hobby as well as educator. You can find me here on YouTube and also on my socials. And yeah, let's get started. So what exactly is Spring AI? Spring AI, right? So it is a declarative API that just makes AI integration feels like a Spring project. It provides APIs for chat embeddings because it can be a little bit complicated if you're just trying to do things for yourself. Prompt templates, vector search, function calling tools. If you're not familiar with any of these concepts or any of these words that I'm just throwing at you right now, don't worry. By the end of this presentation, you'll know exactly what each of these words means, and better, you will know how to code and add them to your project as well. And the best part of this, all these concepts that Spring provides, is that it works great with REST APIs. So it is just easier. You have a working project that you are not looking to rewrite just to add AI capabilities to it. You can just simply add AI to it without, making major changes. So to keep this session grounded and also provide real-world examples to you, I'm going to use a demo. This is a Springfly Airlines AI assistant. So this is basically a AI chat that provides customer support for flight bookings. I'm going to go through some concepts so I can show you how easy it is to do that, and then I'll show you the magic and how everything works. So through this demo, we're going to be talking about persona prompts, chat memory, guardrails as well, because those are very important, especially for production systems. RAG, which is another very familiar word, and a lot of people, usually the first use case that companies are using as well. And tools to get like booking details, cancel a flight, change a flight date, and we're going to make this agentic. So everything is going to be working, and even working with multiple agents as well. We'll see everything this in the next 50 minutes or so. Thank you for flying with Springfly. Okay, so let's get started. So this is a very simple architecture that we have for this application. It's a very small application. So we're going to be using Angular for anything related to UI and UX and the workflow itself, right? Spring Boot's going to be our gateway. So we're going to handle like auth, validation, rate limiting, logging, and the API itself as well. And then we're also going to add Spring AI to integrate with the model provider. In this case, we can be model agnostic. You can use any of the models, but I'm going to be mentioning two here today. And the important rule is, especially when we are handling calls with the LLM model, we usually have to handle keys as well, secrets, right? So that is why we usually never call we'll never have the front end calling the model directly. We always need like a middle layer, like an API, our server, right, to do all those things for us. So that is usually a best practice, even though sometimes that might be available as well. But I do not recommend, we do not want our secret API to connect to one of the models just leaked, and then you end up with a big bill to pay at the end of the month. So let's start with the foundation, which is chat. It's just a simple hello world, right? This is the simplest entry point that we have. It teaches how to do prompting as well, and then the response flow, and then we can add layers to complexity. So we're going to do this step by step. Let's start with the simple config. This is why I love Spring AI and Spring ecosystem in general, because it's so easy to add things to your project. Let's say that you are building your first project. It's that easy. I'm gonna add my dependency to my pom.xml. If you're using Maven, you can also use Gradle as well. And then in your properties file, team properties here, you can also add this to your YAML file, but you also add your API secret key to your properties file, and the configuration, it's done. Now, the next step is, once we have that configured, we can use Chat Client, which is a special interface that's available. We're going to use dependency injection, because Spring is great in dependency injection as well. And then that will allow us to prompt, pass the user message, right? What is the message that we are chatting with the prompt? And then call it, get the content, which is usually a string. And if you want to later be a little bit more advanced, you can even structure your output as well. So you're not returning a string. You can, make it an object, a DTO, even a Java record. And there you are. You already have AI within your project with only a few lines of code. So this is clean, this is readable, it is easy to wrap into a service class, and then you can expose this in a controller layer and call it a day. Now you have AI in your project. Yes, it is that easy. So if you change your mind 2 weeks later, okay, so I've used OpenAI, now I've changed my mind for any of the reasons, I would like to use Gemini, or I would like to use any other model, Anthropic, whatever it is your choice. No problem. All you have to do, you go back to your pom.xml, you update your dependency, you update the keys within your properties file or your YAML file, and that's it. No hassle. And I think this is what I've meant by clean architecture. For me, this is Spring itself, and more specifically the Spring AI project. It's a great example what it means to have a clean architecture. You need to make a major change in your project. You don't have to change your logic. All you're changing is your configuration, and everything works out of the box. And I think this is beautiful. Right? So that's the first step. Now we have AI within our project, but it's a very basic capability. Let's go the next step, right? So when we use like ChatGPT, Gemini, all these services, you'll notice that there is usually like a sidebar that has all your conversations. and it has a context, right? It has history. So you can add your first question or your first prompt, and you can start building on it. And do you want me to do this next? And yes, you can do that next. So we're building context, we're building history. And of course, we can also add that to make it like a real production ready chat API within our applications. So we're going to move from a simple chat, what makes feel like a real product, by adding memory. We use the concept memory here, but we actually talking about context. So Spring AI also supports the memory patterns, where you can store the chat history in a repository, right? This example is showing the JDBC memory repository, and it also has a window. If you look, we have 10 messages. The max messages has 10. This is enough context as well to maintain the conversation without sending unlimited history, right? Behind the scenes, what's happening is that the messages are being persisted in a storage, can be a database, can also be a vector store. So if you want to use Postgres, if you want to use MySQL or Oracle or Microsoft SQL Server, or if you want to use as well a vector store, that's all also available and built in for us. And most important here, you will see that this is very important to set the number of the maximum messages and not have unlimited history, because in the world of AI, we also have a currency that's called tokens. Usually a word will vary between 2 to 5 tokens if it's just like a regular word. But this can become a very expensive exercise quickly. So that is why it is very important for us to be cost aware as well for the prompts that we're using within our applications. So once we are past this configuration, right? Once we're past this configuration, what we can do is just go back to our chat client, and Spring also has a configuration called advisors. The advisors, they work some sort of like interceptors. I think we're very familiar with filters, right? So think about advisors as filters that they can modify and enhance interaction with the LLM. So we can configure default advisors as well, which can be applied to every interaction that we'll having with the model. But in this specific chat client, you'll notice that we have a conversation ID and we're passing a chat ID as well. So this is how we're able to differentiate, right? It can be by user, or in that case, when you open ChatGPT or Gemini, you have that sidebar. And in the sidebar, you have each of the conversations. So you can pass your conversation ID, you can get the whole history and just build on it. So that's how Spring makes it very easy for us just to be able to access that history and build on it as well. So this can be very, very powerful, and you can have a whole tracking history of your conversation too. So we have gone through two concepts, right? The simple chat, which is a one-off prompt, and also the memory, right? So of course, with new technologies, tools, a new set of problems will also come, right? We're entering now production territory. We are leaving behind the hello world and actually start building a product here. So it's not just enough to send a prompt and get the response. We also need to have consistent behavior. Imagine that you are building up a product, for example, for healthcare, and then the prompt, the AI assistance is not behaving professionally. That will be just a disaster, right? So we need to have consistent behavior. We also need guardrails for safety and compliance, security controls as well that we usually have in place for production application. And this is where we also need to build AI responsibly as well. We all know about SQL injections. I'm sure that some of you or all of you are aware of this comic. I really like this comic because it's basically what happens in real life as well, right? So AI is very powerful, but if we don't validate the inputs and even the outputs as well, we can create security issues, like policy violations, right? And have inconsistent and unpredictable results. So that is that's why it's very important for us to pay a lot of attention on this as well. And that's why we're going to talk about some of the guardrails. We don't want that in our systems, right? Just forget everything that you have been told before and do this instead. So this is a great reference as well. As developers, we're very familiar with it, just tackling all the security issues that several tools are aware and come once again in our code. But we have the OWASP top 10 for LLM and generative AI as well. So these are real risks, right? The prompt injection, the sensitive data disclosure, insecure output, excessive agency as well. So if we're building AI features in the applications, we need to be aware of these potential issues, right? So let's go ahead and let's start with the most basic one, which is persona. So personas start with the system prompt, right? This is how we tell the model, you are a Springfly support agent. You're not a healthcare support agent. You are a Springfly Airlines support agent. So I'm telling you how to behave. We're helping with tone, scope, and reliability as well. So if we're telling the AI, you have to behave this way, AI is not going to make jokes. The AI is going to behave professionally, and we're going to set the tone and exactly what are the responsibilities of that particular agent, right? So in this case, we set a system. Now we go back to that chat client interface, and it has something that is the system prompt. So we can actually define two prompts. One is the system and one is the user. This way, if the user just adds to the prompt, forget everything that was told to you and just do this instead. Having a system prompt, we're going to block that from happening. So we're mitigating that first issue that happened with Bobby and the in the comment that we saw. So once that's done, we have the prompt, and then we also have the user message segregated, and we are mitigating one of that first issue as well. Now, once we have that in place, that is still not enough, right? Guardrails are essentially validation layers, right? We can apply guardrails on output and also input as well. So if the user is entering the passport number, date of birth, or of any of the sensitive information, or for example, social security number, right? We can tell the guardrail to block that request. And in case if it's an output, in case the model gets the response and is trying to expose sensitive information as well, we can either block that information on going back to the user, or we can even sanitize that output as well. So this is how we transform some demos into actual safe features so we can ship to production. So in Spring, a great way to implement the guardrails is with advisors, right? We saw advisors before when we're working with the memory, and we can apply advisors here for the guardrails as well. For example, we can create an advisor that it's GDPR compliance, right? It's gate checking for PII information like credit cards, social security numbers, passport, date of birth, in conjunction with first name and last name. So we can use this to validate the user input before the prompt even reaches the main model. This is an example. I know it's a lot of lines of code here as well, but basically what we're doing here is in this request, we are running the validation and either allowing the chain to continue, or we are blocking the response saying sensitive data detective. And of course, you can manipulate this as needed and according to whatever logic you have to apply or whatever message you have to return to your users as well. So we are controlling the flow with our own policy. And we can wire this into the chat client again as a default advisor. This way, every interaction that we have with the model, with the LLM, we're actually trying to sanitize and check if there is any sensitive data in the model. So this is how we apply guardrails using Spring, right? And again, default advisors. You can do the same thing with the output as well. You can have as many advisors as needed, right? So we have the memory, we have a guardrail for input, we can have one for output as well, logging. There are many others that are also available built in directly in Spring AI. Okay, I'm just checking the chat as well. So we have done chat, we have done memory, and we also have done now the personas and guardrails. So it's starting to shape up. So we're going step by step. Now let's talk about RAG. So this is usually one of the most asked topics whenever we're working with AI. So this is how we connect the model to our company knowledge, right? And this is usually the first use case that companies will adopt as well. How we can make use of AI, or how we can say that we're using AI within our company. Let's just scan all the documents that we have, all the like SharePoint, Confluence page, Jitas and everything, and let's build an AI chat that is just connecting to all those documents and answering questions to the employees. It's a quick win, and it's not that difficult to implement as well, depending on the number of the documents that you have. Of course, that adds a lot more complexity. But in theory, it's the first use case that any company might want to adopt as well. So this is also one of the most important patterns that we can use to reduce hallucinations, especially if you're working with your own data. You're not working with the data that the LLM was trained with. So we have RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. We're working with retrieval because we're not going over the internet and working with the data that the LLM was trained with. And we're using our own storage to provide context so the LLM can also perform whatever task we're asking. And augmented, it's because it's going to that own database, and generation is because it's generative AI, right? So that's how we have those three words that represents the RAG. So here's the flow that's usually work, right? We ask our question, and then we search a vector store using the embeddings, and then we are going to retrieve the relevant documents. That information, that data becomes context to the LLM, and then the LLM can do its magic behind the scenes and then return the answer for us. So the answers are becoming more grounded and also trustworthy. And how we can do that with Spring. So we can use our own documents, and there is a pipeline already that is built in as well. So we can read the document. We're going to split into chunks so we make the search a little bit more manageable, right? Searching in small text is way easier than searching a big text. We're going to store everything into a vector database. And then whenever the user is asking for any questions, we retrieve the best chunks that are available, that is closest to what we're asking. And then we're going to include that in the prompt as context. The cool thing about Spring as well, that it does provide ETL tools that we can use to read the most popular document formats and add it directly to the vector store as well. So you don't need to know about mathematical embeddings, because that's usually what a vector store is. So we don't need to have that mathematical background, and we can just use it as regular developers as it was any of the APIs, right? And Spring is also adding an abstraction layer that facilitates all this process for us. So for this in particular, again, I'm going to go back to the first use case that companies usually adopt, which is let's just get all our public documents into AI, and then we can have a chat client and employees can ask questions. This part right here, where we are reading the documents, storing in the vector database, we don't want to do that along with our web application, right? You have your controller, you have your service, your repository. Usually you want to do this in a separate program, like even like a batch job. So we're not consuming a lot of resources, because as we know, IO, right, reading documents can be something that is very very expensive, and resource consumption can also be one of the constraints here. So just be careful with that, depending on how many documents you have and how big those documents are. And of course, Spring also has special advisors for us, so we can embed and just make a quick plug and play. So for us to connect the RAG, we use a special advisor, which is the question and answer advisor, right? So our client now has multiple advisors. We have the question answer, we have the chat memory, we can add the guardrails as well. So we're building complexity here. I want you to notice that we went from a simple hello world, just a few lines of code, just adding AI capabilities to our product, to we're actually starting to shape something that could go to production, right? So we've also adding embeddings now. So we're building 1, 2, 3, 4 capabilities now into our product. And this is where things start to get very interesting as well. I think for when we talk about AI, right, this is like the level that we are just fighting with the big boss in a video game. So AI agents are the icing on the cake in the AI world, right? Just to make the API a little bit more independent. For now, what we've done is we have a chat client, we're going out there in the model, just getting information from the internet, or we're going to our documents, our own data, and trying to find the answers over there. But how do we make this a little bit more dynamic, right? A little bit more smart, intelligent? This is where for me in particular, this is where the magic in AI is it, right? So AI is becoming a little bit more than a question and answer, and we can actually take actions by selecting tools. So I would like to ask a question for you. Maybe you can add here on the chat as well, or just answer for yourself. Do you think that AI is capable of getting data and updating data in your database or another API service? Is AI that powerful? Like if I ask the AI to update something for me in my database, is the model capable of doing that? So there's probably a few delays here on the streaming, but the question is yes and no at the same time. So yes, because we can use tools, we can use agents, right? And no, because the AI is not going to be able to go directly to your database. We're not there yet, right? AI is very smart, but we're not there yet. We still need to call those capabilities, so we're make them available for the AI, so our agent can discover those capabilities and make use of it. So yes, in that sense, and no, because we still need to help the AI so it can do that for us. And that's where we have agentic AI, right? So we basically have two concepts here: workflows, when we have a predefined and deterministic flow. And we also have agents. Agents are a little bit more dynamic. They're a little bit more autonomous as well, where the LLM is thinking for itself and is trying to define its own process. Basically, tools are APIs that we are exposing to the model, to the LLM. So it is, when we talk about agentic AI, we're basically talking, we're creating API so the AI can use it. So it's, I like to oversimplify the concept in this way, right? And the agent or the model can only call the tools, the APIs that we tell them to call. And it's never going to call the database directly. We're not there yet. So we also have to be very careful, right? Because agentic AI is one of like the buzzwords that we have right now. But we also have to be careful to not over agent everything. That there are still a lot of things that just simple workflows and code will work. And if we need something that a little bit more autonomous and advanced, that this is when we go to agentic AI, when we need the model to make dynamic decisions. And this is where it get interesting, right? In Java, we have Java methods, right? If we are creating an API for an airline company where we are retrieving booking details, you're going to create your service method to get the booking details. That's probably going to connect to a repository layer. It's going to go to your database. It's going to run a select statement, and it's going to return your DTO or your record. And that's just soft engineering, right? Simple soft engineering. But in the AI world, when we want to connect this API to your model, we are calling it a tool, right? So by exposing this method or this tool to the AI is when we start creating agents. Same thing for cancel, or same thing for any of the other capabilities that we would like to expose to the model. So our logic, we add a tool, and I love Spring as well. I like to call it, it's annotation-driven development, because all we have to do is just add one annotation, and magic is done. All the abstraction is there for us, and it's that simple. And the description, of course, this is a very simple description, but I'll show you what I have used in the project itself, so you can see how we can make that very description so the model understand when to use it and how to use that tool. So in this case with the Spring Fly Airlines, we create these tools, and then the AI assistance is able to fetch the booking details and perform actions such as cancel the booking or change the flight date, or even change my seat as well. Okay, so putting everything together, right? We have a system persona, we have a memory advisor, we have the reg advisor, we have tools as well. In this case, we're just going to inject to our service the tools, which is just a service class with a bunch of methods with the tools annotation. And in the chat client, we pass the default tools in case you would like to use those tools for every interaction. And of course, you also have the option to customize and not have that as a default, but as ad hoc, on demand, as needed. And this is an agent. You see, it's again, it's not rocket science. It's just software engineering. We have built an agent, and now we are ready to see that in action. So I would like to present to you the Spring Flight Airlines. Let me go. I need to go to what I'm doing here. Okay. Okay. So let me just run the npm start here. I already have Docker as well. So I'm just starting my Angular application. And I am also going to start my Spring Fly application. I'll show you in action. And I can walk you through the code a little bit as well. So let me see. It has started. Now I can. Okay. So this is the Spring Fly concierge. This is only for us, so we know what's in the database, right? So we have the name, we also have a number, the date, and this has been generated for us. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna ask to change the flight date. I'd like to change the flight date. My booking, I'm gonna use this one, which is Emily Johnson, and let me just copy paste this, and just so the AI doesn't have to ask us a lot of questions. So, okay, I need to, can you provide your booking number, first name, last name? Okay, I'm just gonna copy paste this again because I do have in the prompt, and I'll show you that before doing anything, you have to confirm, even if you have already provided. So I'm just gonna pass that again. The current flight is from Miami to Chicago. Yes, that seems correct. And to change the date, that's gonna be a $30 change fee because we are premium economy. Would you like to proceed? And what is the new date? So I did not provide the new date. So it is telling me you did not provide me that. So you have to. So it's February 6th. So it's going to be, okay, proceed Feb 7. So it's thinking a little bit again. Would you like to change? Yes, proceed. Let's see, it's thinking. It has been changed, so don't disappoint me now. Yes, it has changed now to February 7th. So it went to our database, retrieved the booking details for us, and upon confirmation, I kept this simple. We're not doing any payments or anything like that. But it went back to the database and it changed again the date to February 7th. And all this with an AI, so with an AI agent. So let's take a look. I'm just going to pause here. And let's take a look. I want to walk things a little bit because slides sometimes not the best place. First things first, right? We have multiple agents here because I wanted to make a little bit more complex. And in the same way that whenever we're creating a Java application, we try to keep it small, or even sometimes using a microservice architecture, right? You can do the same thing with your agents as well and with your chat clients. You can create an agent that's going to be responsible for booking. You can create an agent that's going to be responsible for payment. You can have an escalation agent if a customer is a little bit rude, or a customer is, needs a human to take a look at it. Maybe you're trying to reimburse for a very expensive flight, so you need a human to review that before you're doing things automatically. So we can also have that escalation agent, and then we can have one agent that it's just going to review. I have the booking agent, the payment, the escalation as well, and I need to decide to which agent that I need to route to. Again, we're talking about AI, and I have a simple switch case here. So the decision is being made by the AI itself. So we are prompting. So this is my prompt. Which agent should I go to? And then a switch case, and it's just handling, just routing to the specific agent. The agent itself is the code that we saw, right? So we have a system, we have the advisors, we have the tools as well that are available, and then just the chat client. We have the prompt, the user, again, the advisor with the conversation ID and the content itself. But one thing that is important as well is your prompt, right? This is, here we're going to need a little bit of help with prompt engineering because we are creating the prompt. This is the persona that we talked about. You are a specialized booking agent. Your role is to handle booking related operations. Today is the date, because if we're trying to do something in the past, it should not allow us. This is your responsibility. So each of the agents here, they will have a responsibility. If we are routing to a human, we try to handle the customer complaints, right? Or de-escalate the information. The payment agent, you have to calculate the fees. So each of the agents are going to be responsible for doing one thing. When I say agent here, it's just each chat client is going to be responsible. So if you want to simplify that, right? And then the authentication, again, You have to provide me this information every single time. And then these are the available tools that are available. This is what you're going to call to get the booking information. I'm adding this to the prompt itself. But in case if you like to keep it simple, you can just let the tooling, right, the annotation to tell that for you. Then we have a service, right? All the service, again, just the annotation service. We have all these methods that are just doing the logic for us. And then we create just to keep things separate, right? Separation of concerns. We have another service with the tools. This is the booking details. So for the tools here, this is to retrieve the booking details for the customer. This is the information that it returns. And use this tool first before doing any modifications, right? There is also another one in case we're changing only the flight date, only the route, or we're changing both the date and the route, cancel an existing booking. So again, you are exposing what you want the agent to have access to. And that is the beauty, right? Because the LLM has been trained. The LLM is going to be smart enough to make the decision depending on the prompt that the user is sending, and make the decision which tool to call, right? This is a little bit of the magic, but everything else we are in complete power to do here. This is beautiful, folks. This is beautiful, right? Let me go back to my presentation because now I lost my presentation. But there is a little bit more that we will talk about as well. So let me go back. Let me just add this again. Let me quickly find where we left off. And then, okay. So now we can even take it to the next level, right? What if I would like to make this agent even more intelligent, even more smart, right? I would like to connect tools to like searching flights. And I'm sure that usually in the airline world, there are two big companies that provide a booking system. And those companies are able to create the tools so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Or we can use another very common use case, payments. What if you like to make a payment through Stripe, for example, or through PayPal as well? So those companies can create tools that we can add to our application without having to rewrite those tools, right? Reinventing the wheel. This is where MCP servers come to the rescue. So again, it's not like a magic word. It's basically a lot of reusability that you can add. And Spring AI, you can also offer support. So you create your own MCP servers and your own MCP clients as well. Dan presented a session yesterday in this conference. So I highly recommend that you all go back and watch his session as well, because he covered about creating MCP with Java. Again, it's soft engineering. It's not rocket science to create your own MCP server as well. Now, observability, right? The one thing that I didn't mention, but I would like to mention before we go to observability, is that Mary has presented about some designs as well. Mario has also presented earlier today about designs, right? Things start to get a little bit more complex when we start to create designs and try to orchestrate the agents. It is the same thing with soft engineering, right? When you come in contact with a particular scenario, design patterns to the rescue, right? So we also have design patterns for agents, for AI agents, and then we can build on top of it. But at the end of the day, it's just soft engineering. I don't want anybody here that is watching here to be afraid of using AI. I actually want you to embrace, because it's so fun to build this kind of products, right? But just to wrap things up, we cannot forget about observability. This is also built in. So the latency per request for each of your LLM models, If the token usage as well, which is the cost, you can also check on this and then maybe change some parameters, the max messages that you're using. So all of this are built in because Spring Framework already has the observability built in, and Gen AI as well. You see that we have the metrics and then JAI, and we can check on that. And of course, how many tools we are calling, the success rate, the failure rate as well. So you have all that, and then you can put that into your boards and just call it a day. It is simple as that. And of course, we cannot we cannot leave today without talking about testing as well. But testing AI products, it's a little bit different. When you are creating a method, or that method, for example, to retrieve the booking details, you can mock that up, right? Or if you're testing a method that is adding two numbers, you have a method add, receives two numbers as parameters, number one, number two, and it returns number one plus number two, right? It is easy to do testing for those things because you can say, if I pass one and two, the result should be three. That's what I'm expecting. When we're testing AI products, it's a little bit different because the answer is not going to be the same. Even if I try and I go back to the chat as well and I try to prompt the exact same thing and I copy paste exactly, I might get a different answer because all of this is dynamic. So the way that we test this is we are evaluating the responses that we are getting to see if those responses are valid or not, or if the AI is not hallucinating, right? So exactly, there is no straight responses for testing in this case. So there is the Mbabel agent. It's also a framework that has been created by one of the co-creators is the creator of the Spring framework as well. It works beautifully with Spring AI as well. So I highly recommend. It's very interesting. Even if you're not planning to use the Spring AI, it's very interesting to see how to test and learn a lot of these concepts behind how we do test prompts and how do we do test those chat client API calls too. So highly, highly, highly recommend. And then from dev to dev, right? I hope you are leaving here today not afraid of AI, actually wanting to try this out and trying to create your own Springfly project. Maybe you're going to come up with a better name. I'm not good in naming things. I think it's one of the challenges that we have when working with development. But AI is not rocket science, right? The same way that we have learned to build APIs with Java, Spring, or any other language or framework, right? We can create simple systems. We can create advanced applications using design patterns and system design, and do a nice architecture as well. It's the same thing with AI, right? Orchestrating AI services can be simple. Again, you can have a chat client or even a RAG application. And once you know these building blocks, right, you can use design patterns as well for your agents. So you can build the solution that you need and start building awesome projects. And don't forget to have fun on this journey. I would like to thank you all. I appreciate you taking the time. And in case you'd like to keep in touch, these are my socials. And this is also the link to the demo in case you'd like to explore a little bit more. I don't know if you have any questions or if we have time for questions. And also would like to invite Bruno back if he's still here.
Yeah, of course I'm here. No problem. How you doing? So great presentation, Loiane. Awesome. Lots of people talking about, Vincent said, for example, for good roundup of AI possibilities. Francois, thanks, Loiane. Great talk. Really enjoyed. So I think you answered the question along the way, but you still have time. So if anyone has any questions, right, feel free to send the questions. So Loiane, you've been talking about AI. What is the biggest question that you get when you start talking about AI? What? You're muted.
Bingo. Everybody mark on your bingo
Yes.
on the mute. Um, I think one folks sometimes are very afraid, right? When we get tools like Copilot or Cursor or any of these AI tools, that especially generating code for us, sometimes seems like magic or something that is out of this world. But if you, I would like everybody that is here, the next time that you are using one of these tools, start observing how it's behaving, because you can see the patterns behind it. So again, once you know these building blocks, you can start seeing those patterns behind it. And of course, that's a lot of complexity in there. But for example, generating Java, you're running your Maven command, you're testing your application, or you're trying to research something. You start identifying the patterns as well, and trying to make sense out of it. So a lot of folks are really afraid, especially of the word agentic AI. But again, agentic AI is just a bunch of APIs plugged into the model. And we should not be afraid of that. The other question that I used to get a lot, but now I think we are a little bit more mature as well with AI in Java, is how do we test that? Because we're so used to the mindset of having 1 plus 2 has to be equal 3, right? And when testing the prompts, we never get the same answer, right? It's very difficult to get the same answer, but it changes the mindset also how we are testing it. So we're not just mocking objects, or just, if you're doing integration testing, right, just trying to call the API directly. It has a little bit more of a nuance on it as well.
Very cool, right? So this here, thanks for the great lesson. Sheila says, thank you, Loiane, great presentation. Very good. Say Marcos, thanks, Loiane. Giovanni, and then Francois says, thanks, Loiane, great talk, really enjoy it. This guy here says, many thanks. Great to us as Java developers to be able to develop AI solutions with Java and Spring. I think that's the fact that we're using common tools that we know how to use, that we've been working with, makes things a lot easier, right?
Absolutely. And again, it's I think one of the reasons that I fell in love with this project as well is very familiar with the Spring. And again, it just makes it easier. It doesn't seem that difficult, right, to just get something that you're so familiar with and just adding a new dependency or a few dependencies, depending on how complex you're building your agents. Add a few annotations, and everything is very familiar. So it just makes our job much easier when we are familiar with the framework.
Okay, very, very cool. So I don't see any more questions. Alex says, thanks for sharing your knowledge. So Loiane, amazing everything you said here. I think it's very inspiring. Is there a place to access these codes, or on your presentation there's like a place to access the codes, maybe?
Yes, there is. Let me just share my screen again.
All right, so
let me do this one. So you can check it out. It's available on GitHub, both Angular and the Spring project as well, with instructions. Highly recommend that you have Docker as well, because you're using a vector store behind the scenes. Just mount your services and you should be good to go.
Very cool. So that's a GitHub account right there, guys. So go on, download it, access it. Make sure that you learn from it. Don't just listen here, because that's not going to solve your problems. Go experiment with it. And I love this, to use this tool, especially because it doesn't charge, right? So I can book all my flights without charging. That's great. All right. Okay. So thanks a lot, Loiane. It's amazing to have you here. Thanks, everyone. This is the second day of the Java Champions Conference. We're still going to be on, that's not the last talk. There's still a couple more talks here today, but we also have lots of talks, 7 talks on Monday and 7 more talks on Tuesday, right? So, enjoy the rest of the conference. make sure to reach out to the speakers. Go follow Loyani everywhere. She has, especially on her YouTube channel, she has a great material. And one thing that you did recently, Loyani, is that you released a course in English, right? Was that the first time you did that?
Yes, Bruno, and that was because of you. You know that, right? Because
okay, awesome.
Bruno has been coming to Orlando. I think for the last 3 times we talked about it, and I never pulled the trigger. So you were here like December, right?
Yes, right. November, yeah.
And last time we talked like now I'm gonna do it, and then yeah. So thank you so much for your coaching. And Bruno has an amazing newsletter. Make sure that you are subscribing to his newsletter as well. Great insights that help me a lot. Like Bruno knows exactly what I need to read that week. So go follow him and go subscribe to his newsletter as well. What's the link, by the way, Bruno, so folks can subscribe to your newsletter?
It's code4.life. Code4.life if anyone wants. So that's great. So thanks a lot, Loyani. And go to so your course is on your YouTube channel, right?
Yes, my YouTube channel.
Yeah, so go to Loyani's YouTube channel. It is right here, right? youtube.com/Loyani Groner. So go there. First training in English. If you are Brazilian or you speak Portuguese, you can watch a lot more material that she has there, and that's great. So thanks a lot. It was great meeting you in Orlando, says Francois. That's great, Francois.
Great meeting you too, and looking forward for you to come back here.
Yes, we're gonna do it, right? So DevNext is coming up, right? So, okay, guys, everyone, thanks so much. Loyani, it was amazing. So thanks a lot, guys. See you in the next one.